Hey guys, welcome back. Today we discuss The Witcher Blood Origin. The Witcher Blood Origin could have been interesting. It attempts to tell the story of the first Witcher set in a world among elves before the arrival of humans. Despite the decline in the original Witcher series in season 2 and news concerning the departure of Henry Cavill as Geralt from the series, I still went into the series with an open mind. After all, the animated spin-off tale Nightmare of the Wolf, which focused on Geralt's father figure Vesemir, was actually quite good. But after watching Blood Origin, I can honestly say this has to be one of the worst television series of all time. Yes, it tries to check all of the boxes, to try to be diverse and inclusive, but as typical when there is this overemphasis on diversity, they somehow can't manage to do any of that without insulting literally every representative of every group they place on screen. White males are bad, of course. The strong black woman trope is never in short supply, and Karen, the bestest ever, is the key to everything. Every virtue signal is signaled in this show. Gay, deaf, dwarf, body positivity higher, but somehow in all of that, they forgot about the one thing that is the most important thing of all, the story. And when it comes to that, this story is absolute trash. And I don't say that lightly. The writing is atrocious. The performances are tiring. The choreography is laughable. There's no sense of continuity or consistency of characters, and forget trying to understand their relationship to one another. It's not like their style or even dialects help you discern who is who. Speaking of which, nothing about this show is even visually familiar to the world it's supposed to be from. The costumes and set design are cheap. The way the scenes are shot is just abysmal. It's actually confusing how this show could be so bad with such a simple premise and ready-made story to pull from. Again, elves, monsters, magic. How do you get it so wrong? And it's not just that it's woke, because frankly, that's to be expected these days. And make no mistake, The Witcher story was chosen to adapt precisely because it is a classically feminist tale, but one that doesn't diminish men in the process. It's similar in that way to A Song of Ice and Fire, or even some of Tolkien's works that depict women in a variety of non-traditional roles. Somehow though, these stories are just never good enough for modern feminists who can't stand strong female characters presented as fully developed and flawed human beings who also somehow remain feminine, let alone allow them to exist in the same space with equally strong and honorable masculine men. And so we get trash like Resident Evil, Rings of Power, and now this. Blood Origin is what happens when fanatically radical and yet utterly incompetent writers take over an IP that they despise with an aim of deconstructing it for a modern audience. And what's worse, despite ratings critical of the show from professional critics and viewers alike, the remaining supporters of this dumpster fire of a show are too egotistical and delusional to see how massive an L this really is, blaming it on, you guessed it, racism, bigotry, and all the ists and phobes they can think of. But even Forbes magazine had to call them out on these lies, noting that the audience response isn't some pushback to diverse casting or Henry's departure for that matter. What they said was, and I quote, "They focused entirely on the weirdly poor production value of this show compared to The Witcher itself and its wooden dialogue and performances," unquote. See, what the studio wants us to forget is how good the Witcher novels actually are and how well done season 1 actually was. I, for one, enjoyed it. They're acting as if we have nothing to compare this show to, but we do, on this very same platform, in this very same IP. And that is what makes their reaction to our own reaction that much more insulting. Blood Origins has been called lackluster, unoriginal, and mediocre, and those don't even begin to describe just how torturous it was to sit through this show from the first episode to the last. It is terrible. It's a complete and utter disaster. If there is a lesson that should be learned from this, it's that customers aren't merely consumers, and audiences aren't here to be insulted. If you want our support, you're gonna have to earn it. We won't be bullied, and we most certainly won't be silenced. This show simply sucks. But hey, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.